Hi everybody, welcome to DudaCon. I'm Paige Hobart. I'm an SEO manager at Unily Internet, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the second edition of Duda's 3-day online conference. This is designed to really help propel agency growth, and you're in for a series of 8 value-packed professional sessions led by top industry experts and agency leaders, including the latest industry updates, trends, live clinics, demos, fireside chats, and more. So it's absolutely packed, and I'm so excited to be hosting the first session today with Andy and Karen. Just some housekeeping before we crack on. Please let us know where you're from. I can already see some great comments in the chat. We've got Ontario, California, Liverpool, some great places in the chat. Thank you all for joining us. Each segment today is going to consist of about a 20 to 30 minute presentation. We'll then have time for Q&A until the hour is up. I will be finishing dead on the hour, so I'm going to whistle through this bit so we can crack on. Please pop any questions you have into the chat as soon as possible, because what I'll do when the Q&A starts is start from the beginning. So the earlier you get your question in, the higher the chance that we'll actually get round to it. So do let us know. They are being recorded, these sessions, so you will be able to watch back later as well. So now, without further ado, I'd like to kick off our first session, Boost Client Website CVR with Ultimate SEO Audit. We have an amazing presentation for you in this session, and we'll be doing some live auditing too. I'm going to hand over to the fabulous Karen to introduce herself before handing over to Andy to do his intro, and then jump us straight into the presentation. So Karen, please take it away.
Hi, I'm Karen Hopper. I am the Associate Director of Performance Strategy at Razorfish, where I'm currently leading CRO efforts for Citibank, which is very fun. And I've spent about 10 years building direct marketing programs for organizations of all sizes. And I'm so excited to do some live auditing today with Andy. Hand it over to you.
Thank you for joining us, Karen. It's good to see you, my old friend. And it's just wonderful to have both of you because we've got an SEO and a conversion pro. I'm Andy Crestodina. I'm one of the co-founders here at Orbit Media, Orbit's web development company. It's a 50-person team. We're in Chicago, and this is year 21. So I've been here since the beginning. So I've done 21 years of SEO and website planning. I've been part of the planning process for a very large number of website projects, probably between 500 and 1,000. We do 55 sites a year on average, and they're mostly pretty complex sites. We redesign a lot of high-ranking websites, sites with pretty fancy stuff and nice, high-end requirements. So I'm a bit obsessed with how people find websites and obsessed with the psychology of visitors and why people do and don't take action. Excited to be here.
Thank you, Andy. We'll just wait for the presentation to come up and we'll crack straight on. I'm very excited.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we can all see this now. Be a dual threat marketer. Anything times 0 is 0. So all the visitors in the world without a conversion rate, no leads generated. 100% conversion rate with no traffic, no leads generated. So I want us all to pay some attention. It's a good way to kind of start this event, and thrilled to be here at DudaCon because we're going to talk both about the cheese and the mousetrap, the traffic and the conversions, search optimization and conversion optimization, right? The Paige and the Karen sides of things. So big picture, the goal of digital marketing very, very broadly is to bring a visitor from a traffic source all the way through to the thank you page. That's almost always the definition of success, or at least it is in the way that analytics works. So that's more or less what we're doing here. And so you can see that there's a lot of things that are required there. If you're an SEO like me, then you're really thinking, of course, how to bring the visitor from Google to a thank you page. I'm going to start by recommending that we start at the end of the process. I think it's proper to begin conversion optimization from the later links in the chain, because if a later link in the chain is broken, nothing else helps, right? There's no amount of traffic that you can drive to overcome, a bad form at the end, or a weak call to action. So this is the way that I recommend thinking about digital more generally. Often the higher value, the higher ROI activities are spent at the very bottom of the funnel. Start at the bottom of the funnel and then go up. Right, to the last link. Conversion's a chain if we're going to fix the weak links in the chain. So that's my format. That's my promise for you today. I'm going to give each of you practical takeaways that you can go apply immediately, starting at the end. A quick bit of advice about a contact form. This is the money page, right? This is the page at which the person is ready to take action. What's the true story in the life of the visitor to this page? they're ready to raise their hand, right? They click that link because they think that they maybe need your help. And you can write a nice piece of copy to go at the top. This one's not bad. Tens of thousands of people use our products every day. If you're thinking about this, we're here to help. We redesigned that page. Compare to this copy. You're about to learn how 20,000 consumer packaged good professionals manage 10 billion in trade spend. See, I'm starting with evidence, making it sound more credible. Just tell us a bit about yourself. No big deal. Just tell us a bit about yourself and we'll be in touch when? Within 24 hours. We've got more logos. We've got a simple form. We've got the face of the rep that you might talk to. Big difference. If that works for you, that data will show up. Improvements to the contact form. I'm going to use analytics throughout because I'm a data-driven marketer and I encourage us all to be. If that works, then you'll see that in the funnel visualization report in Google Analytics. That's where it appears. And if you're already ready to transition for the big switch in July next year to Google Analytics 4, this is where you'd see that report. It's a path exploration. We're sharing the slides. I'm not going to go into deep dive about analytics or how to set these things up. But looking at this slide, you should be able to emulate the report. I've kind of highlighted everything that you would need to do to be able to do this, whichever tool. In other words, every idea you have in marketing is in fact just a hypothesis. Go take an action and then measure the impact, and you can confirm or reject the hypothesis. And good framing up for all of us, Paige and Karen clearly think this way as well. What is a best practice? It's just a good hypothesis. They're not rules. Best practices are, in fact, hypotheses, and I want to show you the reports that you can use to kind of validate the change as effective or not. Next link in the chain, the call to action, right? The percentage of visitors who click on the call to action to go to the thank you page is going to make a difference for you. So really, why do people click on things? This is a really important question. Why does anybody click on anything? It's because they've done a split-second cost-benefit calculation in their mind, and they've concluded that the benefit exceeds the cost. That's how you get someone to click. In an inbox, in a social stream, in a search results page, no matter where, right? On a web page, on a service page. People don't click things until they've decided that the benefits exceed the cost. In other words, we need to get someone to click, we need to make the R in the ROI calculation, the R bigger or the I smaller. How does that work? Well, instead of just saying, do this thing, say, do this valuable thing or do this easy thing. Karen, jump in if you've got any notions on this. Tell me if you agree. Contact us is not a call to action? I'm
correct.
Thank you. Okay. Wasn't sure. It's an opportunity to convert, but it's not a strong verb. Check availability and wait list. Ooh, sounds valuable. Schedule a time. You're not spending money. Just schedule a time to chat with an associate. Sounds easy. So there, you can see what I'm trying to do here, Karen.
Yeah, make it low key and also very action oriented.
Yeah.
Verbs.
Low risk. Yeah, it's like not a high psychological commitment, right? Make the I seem small. The R big or the I small. That's how to get people to act. And then I have this. This is from Ali Gardner at Unbounce. The kicker, we can find a time within 24 hours. Specificity correlates with conversion. Think about that. Write that down. Specificity correlates with conversion. We're going to get into that more in a bit. Also, I think faces in your calls to action increase the visual prominence of that part of the page. And also, as we saw a minute ago, it kind of implicitly suggests that you're going to talk to that person. It sort of answers a question. If that worked for you, if you improve your calls to action and the change worked, you'll see that in Universal Analytics in your navigation summary. Just go to the home page, click the navigation summary tab. You'll see it right there. The click-through rate to everything. We should know. Good marketers know. Veteran, data-driven, conversion pros know their click-through rates for their calls to action. That's a big deal, right? And it's another path exploration inside GA4 if you choose to switch to GA4. No pressure. Whenever you're ready, the slides are here. You're going to get them, and you can just emulate that exact report. The service page. This is really where the rubber hits the road. This is a really, really important page. So I'm going to call back to some research done by Jacob Nielsen from the Nielsen Norman Group, nngroup.com, of course, usability research experts. They reported that the number one reason why people don't take action on websites is findability. There's some missing information. Something's not there. It's not answering a question. The page is failing to answer a question or address an objection. Ironically, fancy design is actually a reason for a failure. Interesting, right? So here again, our job is to make clarity bigger or confusion smaller. It's to answer questions. To do that well, we kind of need to understand our audience. This is why the first step in building great websites is to do qualitative research and talk to stakeholders. Talk to stakeholders. If you don't know the buying decisions, if you don't know the objections of your target audience, you're not likely to convert. So here are some of the questions and I've been to a ton of conversion optimization conferences. This is the kind of stuff you'll see there all the time. These are questions that you can ask of your audience, of your prospects, of your current customers, to understand how better to write the page, right? Design is not the primary factor in the conversion rates of websites. It's the copy, it's the writing, it's how well the page understands the information needs of the visitor. How well does the page emulate a sales conversation, right? So when you find out from what the audience needs, right? What's the true story in life of the visitor? Take me back. I'm going to get into the mic. Take me back to that moment when you first realized you needed help. What else did you try and what didn't you love about it? Starting out, what was the biggest challenge you're trying to solve? Prioritization. I need to know their needs, right? If they've got 4 big questions, I need to know the order so I can construct my page accordingly. What can you do now or can you do better that you couldn't do before? When evaluating options, what were your priorities, right? What was the most important thing to you? Okay, here's the secret to conversion, basically. Conversion copywriting is the key to success on these pages, and your audience can write better copy than you can. So when you ask your client, what's the most important thing, and they give you their answers, well, it was security, then scalability. Now you know how to structure the page. Use the words they use and put them in the order in which they are the most important to that visitor. What was the problem you're trying to solve? We wanted insights, not just dashboards. Now I know how to write the page. What can you do now that you couldn't do before? Oh, don't have to run that damn report every time. Stop running the same reports again and again. See, the next visitor is going to feel like, wow, this website's kind of reading my mind. This is the game. This is the most important factor in my experience. I'm watching Karen to see if she's going to, what she thinks. It's not, Karen, just give me like a general weigh in on this a little bit. What's more important to converting a visitor? Is it copy and clarity, or is it like fancy UX and design?
Copy and clarity every time. Ugly websites convert. Like if they're well written, that's the game.
That's when I try to emphasize this to clients and attendees and anyone who listens. We don't go to websites to see how pretty they are. That's not what your visitor's looking for. People go to websites with information needs. Go look at your own. I know you're a data set of one. I'm a data set of one. It's anecdotal, but go to your browsing history and ask yourself why you didn't take action on those websites. You can also talk to your reps and ask, what questions are you just sick and tired of answering? If you ask the question that way, your sales reps are likely to give you a better answer. And then put that answer on the page. So when I talk to my top salesperson and I ask, what do people keep asking you? Oh, everybody keeps asking if they can cancel their contract. Well, what do you tell them? Of course, you can cancel anytime. Read the contract. You're not locked in. Damn it, I didn't put that on the web page. That's the job. That's the job of the conversion copywriter, is to address objections and to answer questions. That's the reason you have this page. That's the reason they're on this page. It's not to say what you want to say. It's to say what they came to hear. But now we're going to say what we want to say. Now we're going to add evidence to support our answers. Okay. You can add statistical data like this site. We did a site. You don't have to scroll to see they're legit. Like they're differentiated at the top of the fold, above the fold on the home page, right? So you can see how that would add. There's no question this is like a serious company. Testimonials, though, are also very powerful unless they're done badly. This one I think has some issues. The big text is vague. Remember, specificity correlates with conversion. If they'd put the quote as the biggest text, that might have helped. Testimonial is actually boring. That's not a real person. They stole my picture. This is ridiculous. And they put them on a separate page. I'm going to argue today that testimonials should go on every page. Visitors rarely go to testimonials pages. It's just not likely to be a page they're going to ever see. On lots of sites, testimonials like the 31st, on this site, the testimonials are the 31st most popular page. Why would you put your most compelling, strongest evidence, right? Your third-party endorsement on the 31st most popular page? Put the testimonial next to the marketing claim that it supports. Put evidence next to the marketing claim that it supports. You don't put all of your answers here and all of your evidence over there. The visitor's not going to float around and piece the story together themselves. This is from our site. That's an example of a testimonial. Look at the biggest text. It is compelling, right? The visual hierarchy aligns with my messaging priority. Every page has a visual hierarchy. Every scroll depth has a visual hierarchy, whether it's deliberate or not. Look at every scroll depth on every page and ask yourself if the most compelling thing is also the most prominent thing. That is so key. I'm going to repeat that. I want to say this slowly. I want us all to think about this carefully. Look at any scroll depth on any web page and ask yourself if the most compelling thing at that scroll depth is also the largest thing, the thing closest to the top, the most contrasting thing, the thing with the most white space around it. In other words, the thing with the greatest visual prominence. If the most compelling text is tiny at the bottom, at that high, the big text is vague, not ideal. So there's two kinds of web pages: piles of unsupported marketing claims, and we're going to do live website reviews and see quite a few. And we're going to see pages that are filled with evidence, right? Lawyers don't go to trial without putting someone in the witness box. Why do marketers keep making web pages without testimonials or data? By the way, the goal is not to have testimonials. The goal is to have evidence to support your claims.
And jumping in on the testimonial part, just one more thing.
Please.
Just think about how you make decisions. Are you going to make a decision based on an ad that you see, even if it's the best Instagram ad you've ever seen? Or are you going to believe your friend that has told you about like their wonderful experience with the product? Like, that's the value of social proof. It's that humans listen to other humans, and they have a deep distrust of marketing of any kind. And so the more you can put a different face on your marketing, the better.
Thank you. It's in other words, another way to say that sometimes it would be to say, okay, your site is filled with messages, but who are the best messengers for those messages? Your target audience is often the best messenger. So when you put think of it this way: the quotes are the most powerful key on your keyboard. Put quotes around something and it feels different. Social proof. You're triggering the conformity bias. Right? We all have cognitive biases, and the bandwagon effect is very powerful, and people are very likely to do what other people do. Yeah, just thank you, Karen. Watch your own buying behavior. We're all very jaded and cynical, right? I've seen it. And I don't know if it's a negative, but it's boring. It's just expected. We're number one. We're the best. Let your audience say some of those messages, and it suddenly feels like, you turn your normal marketing message into, when you say it, it's marketing. When they say it, it's social proof.
Yeah, reviews with images on Amazon was the best thing ever. I'm always going like, okay, yeah, but what did it look like? What did it look like when it arrived?
What did it really look like when a professional wasn't taking a picture that's perfectly studio lit?
Yeah, that it just feels more authentic. It's there's other examples of that where the authentic thing is more compelling than the super polished thing. We're gonna look at sites with like gorgeous stock photos, which don't feel authentic at all. I once actually did analysis on an Amazon page, and because I'm a nerd, measured the pixel height, and 50% of the pixel height on Amazon pages is social proof. Maybe it's true. Half of our pages should be evidence. Maybe that's the main thing. Everything that's not evidence on these pages, we're going to review some together. The evidence is often the only differentiation on the page. Everything else is just boring copy anybody could have written. Okay, I'm getting fired up, Paige. Wow, it's like early in the day. We're going for it. Okay, so ask yourself, how many unsupported marketing claims are on your homepage? It's like a game. Count the number of unsupported marketing claims you're making, and then ask yourself why you didn't add evidence to support those. I've got some slides in here. We're sharing the deck, like my little cheat sheets for elements that should appear on pages. Quick visual credibility is we're going to see that too. I'm just sharing. I put this in there because we're sharing the slides. I'm not going to read every one of these. Meaningful subheads, though, I want to pay it. I want this is like a pet peeve of mine, or like an easy takeaway. The subheads. Look at that. Our solutions? Come on. I can't think of a more boring and vague word. Solutions? The best words are short and direct. The worst words are long and vague. Solutions is a long, vague word. It could mean anything. It could apply to any industry. Is it plumbing solutions or enterprise, ERP solution? Like, it's a missed keyword opportunity. It's a waste of pixels. I'm kidding. Look at these. Okay, our products, insights, ideas, our customers. Really? This is a company that makes baking ingredients. Let's try that again. Our baking and pastry products. SEOs should be applauding. Ideas and insight, new ideas from inside our bakery. Our customers. Actually, I read that paragraph below that tiny text there. It said they've been around for 100 years. All I did was made the biggest text also the most compelling text, right? Take the most compelling thing and increase its visual prominence. If the most compelling thing on your page is the smallest thing on the page, ask yourself why you weren't deliberately managing a visual hierarchy. Sadly, it's not uncommon. Okay, if that worked, I'm going to say that just shows up in your overall conversion rates, right? Go look. By the way, if you have an active content marketing program, it'll push down your overall conversion rates. So you can easily make a segment to exclude people who started their visit on a blog post. Now you're just looking at your commercial intent visitors. We'll talk about that. And by the way, that's how to make a segment. I made that just to share the slide. You're going to get the slides. And here's what it looks like in GA4. There are no segments in GA4. There are filters. what's the same, basically the same thing. Okay. Oh, and by the way, GA4 doesn't calculate conversion rates that I've found yet. You have to kind of divide the number of conversion events by the number of unique like session start events, like which are sort of like landing page visits. Okay, next, the site structure itself. We know there are 3 types of intent. Every phrase you've ever searched for on Google is one of 3 types of phrases: no, do, or go, as in informational, commercial, and navigational. And those things align with the level of awareness the person has. In each moment, we are problem aware or solution aware, or actually we're already brand aware. So examples of those are things like, can a microscope see cells? That person has very low intent, right? Microscope repair Chicago. That person needs a service, right? Some phrases are a service. Science plus, that person's already brand aware. So there's no do and go, and no phrases are actually 80% of all queries. I bring this up because I want to make sure that we have sitemaps that have lots of pages targeting lots of phrases. And so here's my little diagram. Homepage targets the navigational query automatically. You should rank number 1 for your brand name. But also, that's the page that could target the most competitive commercial intent key phrase, right? Like the business category that you're in. The commercial, then the specific pages inside are the pages that will let you get that target the more specific commercial intent queries. And the blog is where you target all the information intent queries. And you can have lots of off nav pages, by the way, that don't appear in your main navigation, but target other commercial intent queries. So this is the idea. This is a search optimized sitemap. We got lots of submissions for site reviews, and some of those had like a page called services. I would never, ever make a page called services. Nobody's searching for services. Specificity in this case correlates with traffic, because if you have a page per service, if you have one page for all of your services, that page is not optimized for anything. It will never rank. You missed a big SEO opportunity. So each of these pages targets a different phrase. Each phrase has different intent. That's basically my message here. And then after you make the page, we have to make a sincere attempt at making an excellent page. I'm not going into deep like keyword research steps here, but if I say you need to be in one of the top 10 pages, just do a search for the phrase. For this phrase, there are 69 million pages, and here are the top 10. That's the level of competition. Seriously, if you wonder why you don't rank, look at your page and ask yourself, did you make one of the top 10 pages on the internet for the phrase? That's what the SEO should be doing every day, right? We're not trying to trick a robot into getting us to rank. We're trying to make one of the best pages on the internet and indicate its relevance so that Google can show it, right? To help Google help people find it by making an awesome page. That means it's detailed, and that means it's keyword focused, and that means it uses all the related phrases, all the semantically related phrases, okay? So this is SEO. If you're looking for the semantically related phrases, I've got some slides in here for that. Google's going to suggest them to you. This is how you should expand upon your page, right? Also, by the way, if you look down and see what Google bolded, those are also semantically related phrases. Incorporate those into the page. This is how you can expand upon your page to make the best page at one of the top 10 pages on the internet for the topic. That's SEO in a nutshell. And by the way, it's easier than ever. Google's telling you what people want to know. Does your page answer the questions that Google suggested, that Google showed? There's tools for this, by the way. Market Muse is one. It's a tool that I've used before to help me figure out what the semantically related phrases are by analyzing the other sites. In the end, it's called semantic SEO because we're not just targeting the key phrase. That's like what junior SEOs do, or what SEOs did 10 years ago. Target the key phrase, put it in these 3 places. No, we want to make a great page by targeting the topic. Target the topic and not just the key phrase. And when that works, you're going to see the traffic. This is Google Analytics, and I'm tracking month over month traffic, right? This is showing me how much traffic I had previous month versus now. From what source? Organic. That's a segment. And to which page? I'm on the landing pages report. And here's what that same report looks like in GA4. Again, by analyzing this slide, pull it up next to your GA4 and you can emulate the same exact report. It's really not that fancy. You got this, right? You got this, people. It's not that hard. And so when you rank for one of these things, check Search Console. A page that ranks for anything, the primary key phrase, should rank for dozens or hundreds of other closely related phrases. That's how you know you did good semantic SEO. That's how you know you spread out your meaning across the broader topic and didn't just overly focus on one specific phrase. It's not just about one specific phrase anymore. It's about making a great page that answers all the related questions, touches on all the related subtopics. It's about the semantics and the visitor's intent. Okay, visitor, the page likes that. that's what we should be doing, right? And we could talk much more about that. And you're at a conference, you're going to get tons of that. There's going to content audit session coming up next, right? We're going to go much deeper into this. You got a lot in store today. Okay, email signups. We're doing content marketing. We get visitors. We want those visitors to subscribe. When they subscribe, now we don't need Google in between us and our audience. We don't need LinkedIn or Facebook in between us and our audience. Email signups are gorgeous because it's disintermediation. You can talk to your client directly, right? They wanted an email. But look at how bad this email sign-up call to action is. Why would anybody do that? Nobody's going to do that. This is the #1 like billion-dollar company in the category of like senior living here in the US, like big business. Stay up to date? What? Up to date for what? Specificity correlates with conversion. That doesn't say anything. So why would, ask yourself, look at every one of your calls to action. Why would anybody do that thing? Good calls to action to subscribe. Give people a strong promise. I made this one, it's fake. Build strong castles and forts with one simple weekly tip. That's a promise. Every call to action is a promise. And it's visually prominent. I've talked a lot about visual hierarchy. It's in a different color. It's got it knocked out, right? It's dark, it's light on dark. Maybe it's a pop-up, or maybe it's on every page, or maybe it's a sticky footer, or it's large at the top of the blog landing page, and proof, social proof again. So those are the 3 P's of email sign-up boxes. Ask yourself, look at your email sign-up forms critically, and ask yourself if you've done everything possible to maximize the conversion rate from blog reader to email subscriber. While we're here, let's also optimize our navigation. Do you know what people click on? We did this a minute ago. A lot of people have big menus, and we're going to look at some examples of sites that have big menus. Just go to the homepage, click on navigation summary, and ask yourself, is that what you expected people to do? I can tell you crazy stories. The tiniest link in the bottom is the #1 click. What? Huge, big, colorful, flashing buttons at the top never get clicked? What? It's really, we make these things hoping that our visitors will interact with them in the way that is profitable for us. But what they'll do whatever they want, right? You can actually see a lot of back button activity in these sometimes. This is how to optimize a page to optimize your pages to get better, to guide people deeper, more specifically into the page. Okay, I think we're wrapped up now and ready to jump into some live website reviews. Unless any feedback, questions, comments, Paige, Karen?
Yeah, we've got a few questions. We'll get to those in a minute. Just thought I'd give you a chance to catch your breath, Andy, before we jump into the live site audit. Karen, that was really helpful, and I think you had a lot to chime in with. But was there anything that you wanted to chat about, the impactful conversion tests you've run lately? I know we were chatting about that before.
Yeah, so I would say all of the most impactful content tests I've run in probably the past 18 months. Actually, I just blew my own surprise there. They're all content tests. I know we have arguments all the time about like the best UX and like, is it actually easy to get from point A to point B? And like, don't get me wrong, like it obviously has to be easy to get from point A to point B. But if you aren't convincing people to take that initial step and like jump in, then there's no point in optimizing the rest of the conversion flow, because not enough people are going to take the leap and click your CTA. And so this is just another plug for just how important content is and how important good content is. Like, you don't need the most beautiful website, but you do need the best content.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talked quite a lot about proof and making sure you're actually putting those claims out there with some evidence behind them. We had a question from Pavilion Plus and Christopher L. Joss, both kind of talking about how they can create that credibility when they don't have any references or testimonials or reviews yet.
Other types of evidence might be, are you a member of any organizations? Have you won any awards? Do you have any certifications? I've seen sites in this category and that were submitted for review that sort of kind of fake it by having the technologies we use. So the logos of the technologies we use, it's not as strong. Or sometimes people just put a face of one of their team members with a quote about what they love about, I love our process because, and put quotes around it. So you can kind of emulate the kind of the experience to the visitor of seeing that, even though it wasn't technically a testimonial, it was a quote from someone on your team. I think that actually can still feel quite legit. But the best way that I know to get testimonials is to just make it part of your process to call every one of your clients after every project and ask them for feedback. some percentage of them are going to be super fans, and just ask them politely if they wouldn't mind if you used that, those words on your page.
Yeah. And one thing we did as an agency was actually write the rough quote for them and get them to edit or change it or approve it, because then you're taking the work away from them as well. So that's a good one.
And in that page, you can get a keyword focused testimonial, which is both cheese and mousetrap.
You know it. You know it. I'll let you get up some sites that we want to live audit. Whilst you're doing that, there's another question here from Pavilion Plus around ranking for as many related topics, not just keywords. And they're saying, how would you do that without a blog? Now, as an SEO that's worked in many fields and for many clients over the years, you don't need a blog. Like, create some guides. Just because it's not a blog, you've got a website. It doesn't have to sit under a blog. Create evergreen, like, decent guide content. Karen, were you about to jump in there as well?
No, I was just gonna keep talking about the previous topic, but we need to get it moving.
We're doing pretty good, guys. I feel good about this. We've got, I know that was fast, but we recorded this and you're reading the slides. So we covered a lot because it's all going to frame up this next conversation here. So yeah, let's make this as interactive as possible. I have just tabs. We had hundreds of submissions. So there's a lot of things that we can look at here today. If we run out, anyone can submit their own through the chat, but let's just do what we can on these. Not that there's that much to talk about, but this is an example of that tip about having a keyword focused sitemap or a search optimized sitemap. This was a submitted site. It actually has very strong evidence, and there's many things I think are beautiful and probably successful about this website. But it doesn't have, the navigation's a little non-traditional, but it doesn't actually have a page for each service. So I clicked on our services and it says great voice experience to start here. It's a voice first marketing company. Super interesting, right? But there aren't keyword focused pages, which may explain why it ranks for nothing. It ranks 62 for voice marketing agency. Why wouldn't it rank higher for voice marketing agency? It doesn't really even mention voice marketing agency. Doesn't appear here. It says voice first marketing agency. So this is an example of a site that lacks a set of pages, each targeting a variation of a key phrase. So that's one that I think is, although beautiful website, maybe effective for already brand aware visitors, but it's not one that's going to attract anyone from search. I'm on this one now, Cross Digital Marketing Agency. This is, I don't want to express opinions. I want to try to avoid opinions. It's kind of inevitable, but I'm going to stay focused on best practices and sort of the things that I have strong reason to believe would be more impactful or can give strong cases for. I'm not going to say, I like this or I like that, or this is pretty or ugly or whatever. But here at the top of this page, this is the site that kind of scales to fit the screen on a big desktop, so you're seeing it wide. I think that it's generally a mistake to put social media icons in the header, especially when they're colorful, because the only there's color temperature, right? Purple, green, and blue are cool. Red, orange, and yellow are warm. So in a cool context, which is definitely the case here, this warm color for Instagram really stands out. It's an exit click. Do you really want your visitor to leave and go to Instagram? If I go to Instagram from here, I'm going to see lots of distractions and ads and competitors and shoes and I don't know, whatever else stuff that I'm following. I'm going to see notifications, and I think this is too visually prominent for social media icons. There's a downside to having the email link here, because that is not really easily tracked in analytics as a conversion. I'd rather send visitors to a contact form, which you see here actually beautifully done. Book a virtual conversation in a website audit tool. I'm not seeing any of the work except for the words website design. This picture doesn't indicate any, it only indicates the geography. So change the text and this could be a site about something totally different. This paragraph is likely too long. I work hard to make sure I never write paragraphs longer than 3 lines. And here's an example. About us, that's a missed opportunity to have a more specific descriptive subhead or H2. Also, these are navigable, but don't actually take you to the page. You have to go to the services page to go to those. So I guess the learn more would take you there. Audit your website for free. Finally some evidence. This is the first time we saw evidence. I would have moved this up. Consider moving the evidence up, because really so far, everything you see here could be said by anybody, even a startup that just formed yesterday.
Except for the award winning. Like, what award? Like, if you have an award, it's like buried and it's.
Let's see it. Yeah, that's a great point. It says award-winning, but it doesn't present the evidence. And then down here, I think these are actually quite compelling. And then down here, I don't love the price promotion. It's not, I think that this is an industry that requires a lot of trust, website development. A lot of clients have been burned. Digital marketing, SEO sounds like mysterious. So to say like, something is free or free trial, that concerns me a little bit. And then down here, it's like, let's connect. I think this is like an email sign up. I believe it is, but it's not specific or descriptive. Maybe these are the awards down here, something else. So yeah, and then when we get to the pages like this,
because that's sitting under your favorite word, Andy, services.
Services.
We did actually have a question from Molly Kavanagh about what do you suggest as a nav link or site title instead of services?
Digital marketing services. Nice. Just something, add something else to it. If you read this navigation, home, about us, services, free resources, testimonials, blog, contact, 100 million companies have that exact same navigation. Was there a missed opportunity to differentiate or to speak very quickly and clearly to the visitor who lands on this page? We've done eye tracking studies because I have a fancy eye tracking rig, and you can see visitors quickly move to the main navigation. In fact, a lot of visitors, like 70% of visitors in our studies, don't scroll on the homepage at all. They want to quickly segment themselves, which is good. The goal of a homepage is to get the visitor off of the homepage and onto a more specific page. But I would just look for chances to say something that's more specific. Here, this is Orbit Media. What does this company do? No ambiguity there, right? I can tell exactly what you do. So that's sort of that's the idea for this. Again, testimonials. These are great, but they're not on the pages that are relevant to the service. We'll see that again. I'd recommend putting these on the pages that are relevant to the service.
Can I jump in with an accessibility thing as well?
Please.
Anything that is aligned to the center is actually really hard for people with dyslexia to read. And so whenever possible, make sure that you're left aligning your text, because it also just makes it easier for the rest of us to skim as well.
I saw that on the homepage. It's a little like, think about how this visitor has to flow through here. We've got a featured area image, blocky paragraph, 5 wide carousel, or no, these are just icons. 3 wide, center aligned, 4 wide carousel, 50-50 side by side. So the flow is a little, it doesn't feel like we're guiding the eye very well. And yeah, I agree. That's a little tricky to read, huh? We can move on. Here's a nice site that is any other comments? Happy to chat about these. We have limited time, so we're just going to move quickly through some of these. This site is called CitrusBug. It is a software development company. Hire developers. There you go. Strong specificity, right? When you hover over it, we've got a nice mega menu with very specific. It's like these are verbs. This feels like a call to action, actually. Hire Python, hire Django, hire React.js. I get it. 100% of visitors will know what this company does. Talk to our experts. Sounds like a low commitment CTA, and the full color logos trusted by. I like that word there. They clearly must be legit. It's a high up above the fold. And then you get down to this and it's like, oh, look, this is, data. So it's already differentiated, right? You can see this feels like, not everybody could make every one of these claims. These, I would use analytics, maybe Hotjar with a click heat map to see if these are effective or which ones people seem to be the most interested in. We're really pushing that verb hire really strong. I think actually I see it down here.
That widget makes me hurt from an SEO perspective as well, because there's part of me that says that content doesn't load until on click.
Yeah. It's sort of, and it's a little bit early to, I don't know. It's probably, the visitor could scroll through it and see them if they were stacked.
Andy, was it you that I will always remember you said about carousels, similar to this, in that with a carousel, 90% of your content is hidden.
That's another way to put it. Thank you. So
I think that was your quote.
It was. So the developers say this, and they tell the client, we made a carousel so that the visitor can see all these other things when they click. Actually, what the developer did was we made a carousel so we hid all of these things until they click. So it's much easier to scroll and scan than it is to aim and tap or click. So you made the visibility of these bottom ones extremely low, right? The chance that a visitor will make it through 10 items and tap on this, not very likely. So what carousels and accordions and spries and expandable content areas do, they're really hiding things. They're not making things visible. They're tucking it away. Scrolling, much easier. If you stack it, a far greater percentage of people will see it. So I'm sort of anti-carousel after, or at least in the examples when I've tested it or checked the heat maps. They have something great down here. Why citrus bug? Look at this. They have like an embedded clutch widget. Really fantastic. But it's at the very, very bottom of the page. So it's very low on the visual hierarchy. It's got so many elements here that are effective. Quotes, it's a face. The thing I don't love about this is I think the .5 looks like 0.5, like half a star. It doesn't look like that on clutch. I think where the decimal is kind of important here. I think the designer got fancy and put a 0 in front of things. FAQ, again, very low payback for the tap. Why not just make all this information visible? This is fancy UX with no benefit to the visitor. And then an overcommitment expectation on the call to action. I'm not actually hiring a development company when I fill this out. I'm just starting a conversation. So the verb here increases the psychological commitment unnecessarily. I think that could be just chat with an expert, check our availability. And bottom line, what is this visitor really hoping for? What are they afraid of? This is like an offshoring consideration for them. What bad stories have they heard? What are they worried about? How do we address that? Again, back to the copy, to Karen's earlier point.
Mm-hmm.
Other thoughts?
I actually don't hate the click to see the FAQ, only from a data nerd perspective, because then I can actually track to see which questions are the most engaged with, and then making that more, adding some more of that content to the page, or maybe even making an additional page to answer some of those specific questions as people are Googling for them.
I love that very much. I kept this slide in my back pocket. This is a heat map from Hotjar on an FAQ expandable content areas. And you can see some of them get expanded and some of them never do, right?
Yep, we're running some tests right now where we're actually taking some of the most clicked FAQs and working that copy into like higher up into the page.
That's awesome. Another FAQ tip, if you have an FAQ page and you look at the navigation summary for that page, you can see which of your pages is not answering an important question.
Really
These pages are
important
sending
question.
visitors to the FAQ page.
Sorry, Andy. Really important question that I think we should address before we move on, from Nicholas Infanti Torres. Sorry if I butchered your name. Is it true that text inside accordions is not read by Google?
Go ahead, Paige.
Of course it's read by Google, unless you've done it in a really bad way. Accordions can be really great for a UX, particularly on mobile devices. I love an accordion on mobile just to help like minimize just a lot of text on a page, particularly on mobiles. The one that you want to avoid is, again, devs getting fancy. I had a client once that only loaded the text within the accordion on click. So when you inspected the code of the page, that content did not exist. Google don't click things. It can click through to pages and can click through to things, but it can't click elements to make things load. So just make sure if you're using expandable boxes, I love them, but just use the right ones. Thank you, Andy.
In this example, I feel like they could have worked a little harder on this. How do you ensure my security of information? This is like a person who's worried about security. Your answer? Oh, we signed an NDA. This is an actual technical security question. So think about, maybe vet your FAQs by having conversations with people, or riding shotgun on sales meetings and just listening to how the best reps, again, the best sales pages emulate a sales conversation. So the extent to which that page is really giving the best possible answer. If I'm an IT director and I say, how do you protect my information? Like, oh, I signed some paper. Not sufficient.
Yeah. And one of the best ways is like, if you have a customer service department, literally go and ask them, what are the frequently asked questions? Like literally, true to your word, what are they?
Yep. Another trick for that sometimes is to like read if you've got a search, look at your search terms report to see what people are searching for. That'll give you clues. Reading your chat logs sometimes, that might give you clues. We did 2 agency sites. Should we move on to another website?
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's do it.
While you're just getting up the next site, we've got a question from Melanie Hendricks about title text. So she said that the subtitle text is, Figma connects everyone in the design process so teams can deliver better products. how do you tag this stuff for success in the SERPs? Now, I'm assuming we're talking headers and subheaders, question, answer, content. Now, to me, that doesn't sound like a very optimized header at all.
So in Figma, this is like a workflow question about how information is marked inside the development process that leads to building pages that are optimized for search. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah. So she's got a previous question which precedes this one. How do you tag headings when they are hooks and not just keywords, or when your keywords are in the subtitle after the hook? For example, that Figma question. So I think what I would say here is what I tend to do is go and look for those PAAs, like look in the SERP for the queries you're trying to go after, and use those questions as your headers rather than what you think it should be. Like you could phrase that query that you've given us as a question potentially and answer that question. Look in the SERPs. I don't know if you guys are going to add anything to that.
Well, I mean, the page has to indicate relevance to search. So the header the H1 tag should be reserved for that. And then the header needs to also help the visitor understand where they are on the page. So you have two different considerations to make when doing some of these things. If you wanted to write some clever subheads, I think that's a fine place to do it, is in the H2s. I really don't love when people write super clever headers. The headers should tell the visitor that they're in the right place. Human clicks, page loads, first question in their mind, am I in the right place? So when you have clever headers, and this is a giant insurance company, so the example we're looking at here maybe it's fine for them, but this is not, this header doesn't pass the backyard barbecue test. If I met you at a party and I said, what do you do for a living? And you said, I enable people to have the freedom to live and work anywhere in the world. Like, what? Wait, you're an insurance company. So I think that H1s should be clear and H2s can be clever. So that's some of the things that I think about while constructing pages.
What else can we say about this website?
This is clearly a big company and a well-established business. So now we've moved away from agencies and we're on an actual service provider. So this is an insurance company. One thing that I thought was interesting, and Karen would love to see what you think. It took me a minute. This is the drop down. It's a full page invasion, taking every pixel, and it can be closed with this X. But when I first clicked on this, I thought I was on a different page. To me, I think it's difficult. It's more work. It's a heavier cognitive load for your visitor to scan things both left and right and up and down. So what does this company do? It's like a bunch of mega menus right here. So I would reconsider this mega menu to make it easier to scan. It could also give people a little more information. Here's a site we did, sales readiness platform. There's a call to action, right? There's some hierarchy with this other area on the right. And then each of these modules is keyword focused and very specific. Specificity correlates with clicks. And then a little bit of text underneath each. This one here, I don't know. Karen, wouldn't you love to test this?
I would love to test this and find out which things people are actually clicking on, and if some of the things can be combined into their own little subgroupings. Because it seems like they have subgroupings on the left, but you don't actually look over there. You're distracted by this huge grid of things. So it's not entirely clear. It's a lot.
Yeah. The changing of colors, in my experience, you'll never be able to measure the impact from that. People often ask for that in conference rooms and in marketing meetings, like, let's color code every section. Your visitor does not care about that at all. It's like, oh, I would have gotten personal insurance if only this had been blue. Nobody ever said that. So this is one where I think it's actually using a lot of pixels to do work that could be handled in kind of a much easier to scan way. So that's one of my concerns about this. About Us has the testimonials, I think, right here. These are missing from the pages. If I go to the personal insurance page, it doesn't have any testimonials. This is an example where I would blow it up and move these onto the pages where they add more supportive evidence. Could make a big difference. And again, reviews are testimonials. It's kind of a boring subhead there, you can imagine. But this is also a fun one to look at from the perspective of search, because if you run this through a tool, I would use Google Search Console if this was my client. I don't have access to their tools, but I put it in SEMrush. I'm looking at all their rankings. I've excluded some high-ranking blog posts, and also I've excluded their brand. So when I get to this, I could, and I scroll down, I found one right away. They rank number 5 for international life insurance. That's an awesome phrase. That might be worth millions of dollars a year, literally ranking for that phrase. Let's search for it. 4 ads, that's big. Here comes one organic, traditional organic, followed by people also ask. You get down here, yes, there they are. Could they rank higher for this phrase? Let's take a look at the page. Remember, this is ranking for international life insurance. That's not the H1. It's not the title. Give me, hold my beer for 15 minutes and I'll make this page rank. Seriously, it's a lot of missed opportunities. There's no semantic SEO here, right? It's just not, it doesn't seem to be constructed in that way. It doesn't feel like a search optimized page. And I mentioned Market Muse earlier. I just threw this into Market Muse. Looks, it doesn't mention permanent life, doesn't mention universal life, doesn't mention the words insurance company, doesn't mention, some of these, there's a lot of other phrases. Insurance plan isn't mentioned here. So this is an example of a site that has actually the first half of the battle addressed, which is to have a set of pages that all target different phrases and have a page per thing. But then the second half of the battle, I think it just looks like a good opportunity because there is quite a few missed semantic SEO elements on this page. So that's one where, my mouth kind of waters like, wow, really? You're already ranking number 5 for a phrase, and there's, a lot of sort of missed opportunities. And it's a famous site, high domain authority, big opportunities.
Such quick wins as well. Such easy quick wins.
Yeah.
Love it.
I've got several others here. We're making pretty good time. Paige, should we jump into another, or is there another question?
Yeah, I think carry on. No one was brave enough to send us their live site, sadly, although a couple of people said that they might, but they're not thick-skinned enough. So let us loose on it.
There's great things about everyone's website. Yeah, we don't mean to be hypercritical.
No, we're here to help. Promise. Yeah. We'll be really nice. We'll be really nice.
We want you to succeed.
Feedback.
Yeah, we have no. If we're here for you, we're like, it's our job to help you today. So yeah.
Exactly. Whoever's in the chat, like I've seen someone just say they've sent you our site. Please put it in the YouTube chat. That's where I'm fiddling. So if you pop it in there, I'll send it to Andy and we'll get it up.
We'll do this one quick in case someone does volunteer. I'm on a site called Monster Mobile Marketing. The logo treatment is so small I can't actually read even the smaller text there. So that's probably a variant of the logo might be helpful. But this is a page where I ask myself, there's a visual hierarchy here. What does this page want me to look at? And there's a lot of things that are kind of competing for my attention. So it's the city name, there's a large text. There's the top right CTA, which is just contact, and then there's movement. And as I scroll down, it's got kind of that same thing, 4-column layout with these stock photos with all different type treatments. If you just count 1, 2, there's the purple, 3, 4, 5, 6 is the small text. 7 is the italicized purple. There's probably 10 or 12 different text treatments on this page already, and I've only started scrolling. I would drop these in favor and the stock photos in favor of actual people from your team. I think that's often a missed opportunity, is to just be more personal, more human. And it's way down here before I finally get some evidence. Memberships, there's companies that they've worked with, the portfolio. Everything above this so far is stuff that anybody could say. So we ask ourselves unmet or unsupported marketing claims. What was so the evidence I think was a little bit too low. Also, I want to point out this page. There's a video here. So there's lots of movement. But there's a video down here that is really not promoting the business as much as just promoting web development. So we don't have to watch this, but that's an idea where, ask yourself if you're really answering these people's top questions. There are other examples. Where's that big boy? Here's another one. Lots of it. This is a beautiful site in lots of ways. Tons of evidence here, the big portfolio. This is what they do. But where are the people? Where are the faces? They actually do have, and I love this down here. This is what I recommended. Chat with Alex. Good for you, Alex. You put yourself out there, book a call, very differentiated. If I go to meet the team, I can find there's people for everything, but there aren't pages per person. That's why this site is outranked for the people's names by social media networks. Look, this is a person there, Carrie, but the this website is outranked by LinkedIn for Carrie because this website doesn't have a page for Carrie. Same thing. You need a page per person. It's sort of missing that. Oops, where was it? You're sort of missing that opportunity by just having a a part of the page. So it's a little SEO trick. It's good personal branding for each of the team members, for the leadership. Good for PR. Make a page per person the same way you'd make a page for each product. There are so many opportunities here. Which one was the?
We have one. We have
good.
one.
I would say, can I jump in with one quick accessibility thing as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'll
All
put
caps.
the website in the chat.
All caps is also really difficult for people to skim. And then, of course, we have a contrast issue as well here. It's like anytime you're putting words on top of a photo, make sure you can read all the words, please.
I agree. Screen this back. Thanks again, Karen, for bringing up accessibility. You're like a hero. We should all be all in on accessibility. United Nations says that access to information is a human right. Think about that.
And having more accessible content, it lifts all boats. It's easier for everyone to understand, not just people who have disabilities.
It aligns with search. It aligns with load time. It aligns with all your other goals. Paige, do you want to look at one? Do you want to recommend one?
Yes, so creekmoremarketing.com. I've just put it in our private chat. Apologies to the people on YouTube. Apparently YouTube was blocking everyone sending domains in the chat because
there might have been quite a few. Yeah. Another day we should just do a whole a marathon of website reviews. Creekmore Marketing, contrast issue there. Oh, I see what's happening. It's a fading background color, kind of cool. 140 Google reviews, instant credibility, right? Differentiation. Digital marketing obsessed with, that's a fun word that you wouldn't often see. That sounds like the audience wrote that themselves, right? It's more forthright and candid than you might expect, helping small businesses grow. This is the opposite of intuitive design. When you have to put arrows showing the person to scroll, that means you've made the featured area too big. There's no benefit. These pixels offer zero value. So this is a pet peeve of mine, and my designers do this too sometimes, but tighten it up, bring it up. Navigation labels are all vague. Small drop-down menus test poorly generally in usability studies. Just to check briefly, are there pages per person? Nope. This is that same point we just made. Great photos of the team. Very human, right? Let's go back to the homepage and just check Google reviews. Are you really going to let me leave and go to Google? No, you put it on a page. Cool.
And it's in the nav too.
Good. That makes perfect sense. Reviews, but let's also put them on the other pages that talk about the service itself. We're back on the home page. Marketing. Is that not? Oh, I see. It was load time. No problem. Marketing, design, communications, the visual hierarchy here. These are very powerful compared to the more maybe meaningful text to the visitor. You won't see a difference if you did a test, but maybe I would consider screening those back. Our mission, again, great tone. I'm feeling you. Love it. Stock photo. Oh, you could have done. I would probably choose something more personal, even if it was a bit lower production value. Award winning. Again, where's the award? Oh, here they are. Strong. Love it. Glad to see that. Real data, real results. Get a free consultation that's not specific to your industry or the, I don't know. If this is working, great, keep doing it. But there's other ways I could imagine that, maybe by putting a face or something else here. Social media icons have low visual prominence, which I recommended in the very, very beginning. But these little drop downs test pretty poorly in usability studies. You could make a page it's good to have a page for each, but also nice to consider maybe a larger drop down that adds that value like I showed here on this this other website.
Great feedback for that one. Let's try and do amandabarrettphotography.com. We've got 1 minute left. Let's crack on.
Amanda, I'm typing as fast as I can. Hey, look at that.
She's a photographer. We can see what she's photographing.
Yep. Baby photography, right? So this must be her focus, or she probably wouldn't have that Nashville newborn photographer. Maybe that's keyword focused. If it is, I love it. Even if it's not, it's still good for visibility. Or for
left align that text. Left align.
Left align. That was really helpful to know, Karen. I actually didn't know that about dyslexia.
Get to know me is probably a great CTA. The personal, obviously great photography, warm color palette. There's some evidence down here at the bottom. These are also evidence, but I would consider maybe just adding to this page a pile of short testimonials with pictures next to each.
And I would change the about link to something like Meet Amanda or something that's more like personal, because it is that relationship that you have with your customers.
particularly as a baby photographer as well. Like you're gonna have
You want to
that
trust
personal-
them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Amazing, guys. Thank you so much. I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, but such a big thank you to both you, Andy and Karen. That was really, really good. I think I myself has learned a lot, and I think the audience has too. We're definitely going to have to do that marathon.
Sounds good.
I'm in. Let me know.
Thank you,
Looking
guys,
forward
and
to
thank
it.
you to our audience. Audience, please stick around for our next session. I'll be joined now by our next guests. Welcome. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.